I recently heard a certain very intelligent and perceptive Rav say the following. He does not describe himself as Haredi, nor does he describe himself as Dati Le'umi. So he's independently minded. And he himself has gone through certain gilgulim over time. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. He said, Rav Kook Zitzal was a very, very complex and profound individual. And he looked at reality in a certain way. It doesn't always necessarily follow that one has to subscribe to what Rav Kook thought or believed or how he interpreted certain realities in his time, which of course was a long time ago. Most of the important things that Rav Kook wrote were written 120 years ago, 110 years ago. He passed away 90 years ago. But most of the important things that we have from Rav Kook were written well before that time. So Rav Kook saw things in a certain way, and he wrote voluminously on everything, basically, and on every area of the Torah. And I will say further that he also saw all the various facets of a reality, and therefore I think sometimes you can find what seem to be certain inconsistencies between one statement of Rav Kook here and another statement of Rav Kook over there. That is even in the realm of thought, of philosophy, of chokhmah, but also in terms of, even when it comes to reality, in terms of when he was dealing with more down-to-earth, real-world situations, you can also see, I think sometimes you may feel, perhaps with some justification, that these various messages do not always add up to one clear direction or perspective. But even if a person says what I just said now is incorrect, and that's also fine. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm not wise enough and deep enough to see how you can reconcile all the various statements of Rav Kook over decades of time into one coherent picture. Perhaps that's true, and perhaps I'm unable to do so. However, what is certainly a fact is that almost all the great, all the Rabbanim and Chachamim who knew Rav Kook directly and personally, people who were his students, and people who looked up to him during his lifetime, the vast majority of them, after his time, which is 13 years before Israel was established, he passed away in Torah 1935, Leminyanam. Almost without exception, they found themselves drawn towards, or by default, they felt they somehow, to one extent or another, joined the Haredi world, or lived within the Haredi world, more than in any other world, shall we say. And on top of that, and even more importantly, it is not true, it would be entirely untrue to claim that Rav Kook, in practical terms, in terms of how to live day to day in this world, in this very, very complex reality. And one should stress, this is a reality, what we have today and what we had when Rav Kook passed away 90 years ago. We're talking about various types of reality that never existed in Jewish history prior to that time and prior to this present time, this point in time. And that is why you hear various Chachamim express different views about how to relate to this or that reality, because it's something new. Just as you find different Chachamim expressing various views about the use of electricity on Shabbat or Yom Tov, and what the reason is, and what the basis is, and what the source is, and all the rest of it, because it's something new. It's something that has not been discussed before. It's not something that is clear and plain. and something that all can agree upon. That's not the case. The same is true here. It's not unreasonable. In fact, it would be very surprising if we did not find many great Chachamim take stock of a given situation and reach somewhat different conclusions in terms of how to interpret this strange new reality on the one hand. On the other hand, whatever you think of the reality, you have to decide how you're going to navigate this reality, how you're going to live in it, how you're going to educate your children, what you're going to think to yourself every morning when you wake up. There is clearly no clear direction that one can find in Rav Kook's writings, as amazing and as groundbreaking and as unique as they are. One cannot find any clear direction in terms of how to navigate this reality based on Rav Kook's writings. Rav Kook was living in his own unique world with his mastery of Torah and his phenomenal insight and intelligence and knowledge. But he did not tell the common people what you should do tomorrow. He did not. He was spectating, he was viewing reality and interpreting it and writing about it, but he didn't tell anyone what they should do. More than anyone else, he did not tell his students exactly what they should do in a practical sense. As I've pointed out before, Rav Kook himself was not in any way officially connected to the Mizrahi, for example, nor was he at all enamored of Agudat Yisrael, not by any means. That's why he wanted to set up something different, a third way, which he wanted. The name for which he chose for that was Degel Yerushalayim, something which never got off the ground. Again, because Rav Kook was not a practical person. That has to be understood. Whatever Rav Kook was, and he was truly almost a once in a millennium phenomenon, one could say, nevertheless, he was not a practical person. He was more of a mystic and a philosopher and a mekubal and all that, and a posek, anything you wish, but not a practical man of the world. Whereas certain Haredi Chachamim, for example, the Chazon Ish, not by any means only the Chazon Ish, but he was the most prominent of many Haredi Chachamim in the years towards the end of Rav Kook's life and following Rav Kook's leaving the scene. They did recommend and design a certain mode of living on a day-to-day basis, as they saw and believed it should be done, as we must do, because we have no choice. That was their decision. That was their take on reality. So the people who followed them had a clear direction. You can like it, you can dislike it, you can say maybe it needs to be revised. All of that's fine, but they were given a clear set of instructions, of marching orders, where to go, in which direction to march, and what the overall aim more or less is, or at least for now. That Rav Kook, in Kol HaKavod, did not provide.